Hi, everybody. Before I take any questions, I just want to thank all of you for persevering with us through this year and doing all this on Zoom. And it was very different, obviously. We had to do what we had to do, but I like this job a lot more when I actually get to see all of you and speak with you face to face, and there's just a much more personal feel to it that way. And hopefully we'll be back in that dynamic next year. But thanks for all your patience and for doing the job that you guys do. Always enjoy working with you, and let's try to be back together again next year. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
First question for Steve is from Jason Dumas, Cron 4.
Hey, Steve. I'm about sick of these Zoom calls, too, so hopefully that changes next year. My question is, I guess how difficult was it this year, and then how difficult do you think it will be this offseason? Kind of just managing the timelines. Next year you'll probably have 2 lottery picks if everything goes as planned percentage-wise, and then you have James coming back, and then you have Steph in the middle of his prime. This year was just James, obviously. Next year might be a few other really young guys. How difficult was it, and is it to kind of navigate both of those factors moving forward?
Well, that's the job, Jason. I mean, every year is totally unique. I know my first year, the difficult part of navigating the season was to have to coach a player like David Lee, who had started and been an all-star. For me as a first-year head coach, to go to David Lee and say, you're not going to be starting anymore. David deserved better, frankly, but he got hurt. Draymond played out of his mind, earned the spot. That season was very difficult on David Lee. He ended up helping us dramatically in the playoffs. We win a championship. It all worked out right. But my point is, that was the challenge that year. How do you take an all-star player and tell him he's going to come off the bench? That's a difficult thing to do as a first-year coach. The next year was something different. This year it was something different. Every year presents its challenges, and so you have to embrace each season as for what it is, and then navigate your way through that and try to help your players be the best versions of themselves. And so this year, everything changed with Clay's injury, and that was the challenge, was to say, okay, how can we be really competitive, but also try to bring our young players along at the same time. And that was, I think, a worthy goal, because to be where we want to be when Clay comes back, we need these younger guys to be pretty good. So was that easy? No, it was not easy. But you see the benefits as you go through the season. You see what Jordan Poole meant to us by the end of the season. Think how much better of a team we're going to be next season with Clay back, knowing that Jordan developed the way he did. And so as it relates to James or these two first-round picks or 1 first-round pick, it's the exact same concept. You want to bring guys along so they can help you. Now, the difference next year is, knock on wood, Clay's healthy, we come in from the start. It's a different mindset. New season, new set of circumstances. The mindset is, let's get it done. And whatever that means, then you adapt to that. And that's what coaching is about. That's what being part of the NBA is about. That's what managing a team like Bob does is about.
Wes Goldberg, Bay Area News Group.
Hey, Steve. You said after the Memphis game that you didn't think that the last quarter or so of the season was a fluke. And now that you've had a chance
I'm sorry, I missed that. I said that what?
It wasn't a fluke. Like, the last quarter of the season was not a fluke.
Was not a fluke.
Yeah. What from that last part of the year do you want to, I guess, sort of repeat next year and build on over the offseason?
Well, there was an energy about the group. We were the number 1 ranked defense. We were the number 8 ranked offense. History tells us if you want to be a championship contender, you got to be top 10 in both offense and defense. So to do that for a quarter of the season with the group that we had, with the injuries that we had, was really encouraging. But what did we learn from that? Well, we learned that Juan Toscano-Anderson's an important piece of our team, that he can really help us next year, that Jordan Poole can really help us next year. Playing the way we did with the floor spacing and the movement was really effective for us. If you look at our team during the 5-year championship run, we had a lot of players who really were able to fit, but we had a style. We had an identifiable style. And so that's where we need to get to, is the point where we can be a top 10 offense and defense and rely on who we are, which we saw over the last 20 games, and then incorporate the young guys in ways that not only fit in with what we do, but enhance what we do. And that only happens with player development and team development as you go through the course of a season. And so those are the circumstances we'll be facing next year, which are actually really exciting, because if we can start the season like we finished it this year, only with more talent, we got a real chance, and that's exciting.
Anthony Slater, The Athletic.
Yeah, Bob was just in here talking about, no plans to trade James Wiseman. He expects him to be on the roster next season. What did you learn through, his rookie season, in and out of the starting lineup? Did you feel you made any mistakes with him? And then as you look for him as a year 2 player, how do you get the best out of him?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as James goes, I think he's an unbelievable talent, and we absolutely should nurture his talent and continue to help him grow. And that over time, there's no doubt in our minds this guy's going to help us. He's going to be a really good player in this league. So what we learned, which I've talked about many times, is to expect a lot from a guy who doesn't get a summer league, doesn't have a training camp, and is playing in a brand new set of circumstances during a pandemic. Those are high expectations. To expect anybody to come in and get it at 19 and figure it all out in a season like this, where as an organization ourselves, we didn't have everything, all aligned because of Clay's injury and because of the turnover in the roster and lack of camp. So very difficult set of circumstances for James to enter into. And as far as his development, he works really hard, and our coaching staff did a good job with him. There are certain things I can do better, putting him in positions to be more efficient offensively, for sure. But that's all part of the process. He has to grow. We have to grow with him. But that's all fine. That's how this whole thing works. But as I said, the difference is he'll next season he'll have a year under his belt. We will have a year under our belts. We kind of know who we are as a team. We know where we can help him get better and where he can help us as a team. And then it's on everybody to make that improvement and help the process.
Next question is from Janie McCauley, Associated Press.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Janie.
Thank you for the nice words. I think I can speak for all of us for saying the same to you, and thanks for your patience throughout this. Bob was just saying, Steve, that you and Steph maybe met on Saturday to discuss a little bit of, exit interview, but also maybe any Olympic talk. And when do you expect to sort of hear from him on what his plans are with that? And Bob also said no real doubt in his mind that he can get an extension done for Steph this year. It's Steph said back in December he wants to be here, maybe play till he's 40. What are your takes on those two things?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously we want Steph back in the worst way, and there's no reason to think why that won't happen. So we're excited about that. We're excited about next season, coming back with, Draymond and Steph playing at such a high level to finish this season and to get Clay back and to have the opportunity to fortify our roster, to see these young guys emerge. It's all very exciting. So I think that was the general feeling with our players in our exit meetings was this is exciting. We got a lot to look forward to. As far as Steph's summer, he's going to make that decision on the Olympics. What I told him and what Pop has told him, frankly, is, take a little time. You can't make a decision like this 2 days after your final game of the season. So, Steph will take some time off and he'll make whatever decision he decides to make if he wants to, play on the Olympic team or not. And it's, of course, whatever he decides is great for us, for Pop, for Team USA. I mean, it's, players have to they have to go with their heart and prepare the way they have to prepare and understand their own needs and so that's all part of the process.
Steve, with the tailbone thing, how much time, just off from not playing, do you think that needs, or have the trainers said that needs to really fully heal up?
It's never even been brought up. It's just sort of understood that season's over. It's going to get bad. I don't know if it's going to take a week or a month, but you saw the way he played the last 3 weeks, so it's not going to impact him in terms of how he plays. It's how long it hurts, So no real concern with that.
Next question is from Kareth Burke, NBC Sports.
Hello.
Hi, Kareth.
Bob explained that he knows this team needs more veterans and that he tried to acquire some, but maybe ended up in second place in those races. How would more of a veteran presence have helped change the equation this season? And what could adding more vets to next year's roster do to strengthen you guys?
Well, I mean, veteran players win in this league. It's very rare that you see a rookie come in and lead a team to a championship. Magic Johnson did it. Larry Bird came close to doing that. I think maybe of the modern guys, Dwayne Wade was pretty good his rookie year. I think it took him a few years to win a title, and LeBron he didn't even get to the playoffs his first year. So we all kind of know how the league works. The knowledge you gain in this league from year to year is crucial. And what that means for a team's kind of institutional knowledge as a group is crucial to winning games, because these games come down to possessions and everything matters. And so, if we can add a couple of vets, that'd be great. We had, during our 5 straight trips to the finals, we always had great veteran presence, and that matters. And so I'm of the thinking and the belief that Clay's return and our final 20 games will be very much in the minds of potential free agents when they think about where they want to go. So whether that means we get a couple of guys to come or not, we'll see. But during our 5-year run, we got a lot of guys to come here who made really a big difference. David West and Zaza, JaVale McGee, those guys all come to mind. Obviously, we had other guys as well, but that kind of veteran know-how and stabilizing influence could be very helpful.
Chris Alvarez, ABC7.
Steve, it seemed, watching Clay on the bench the last couple of games, it seemed like he wanted to go to the scores table and check in himself. I just wonder where Clay is right now in the rehab process, and Bob had mentioned he might not be ready for game 1, so kind of a realistic timetable and just kind of where he is at also mentally.
Well, I think it was, in a strange way, the end of the season for Clay has meant the end of his time apart from the team. Even though he was with the team all year, he never felt a part of it because he wasn't playing. But the season ended, and we had our exit meetings the next day, and it's like, Clay, you're back. The next time we get together as a team, you're part of this. You're going to be on the floor. Now, will he be playing in a game yet? We don't know. But he'll be running around and shooting and practicing with us and doing all that, we know. And we'll just have to see where his progress is at that point to determine when he's able to play. But emotionally, spiritually, I think it's a huge lift for him to know we're now all on the same timeline in terms of getting back together when we can play basketball again together. So I think it's a good uplifting feeling for him now. He's making real strides.
Monty Poole.
You guys played your best basketball down the stretch with a starting lineup that played a lot of 3-on-5 offense, and that Draymond and Loon really weren't guys that teams paid much attention to on that end. Is that sustainable going in the next year? I know you're going to get Wiseman back, you'll get Play back, but having a lineup that has two guys that really aren't scoring threats, how sustainable is that to play good basketball?
Oh, I think it's sustainable. I mean, we played good basketball exactly with that lineup. We went 15-5 in the last 20 games with those two guys starting. Number 8 offensive rating in the league during that span. That's pretty good. Now, is it something we want to throw out there for 40 minutes? No. But it's a look that had, again, the number 1 net rating in the league. So I think what we have to think of as we build the team is, yes, that can work. We just showed it can work. But how can we get better in terms of, as a coaching staff, are there schemes we can alter? Is there a substitution pattern that we can change to help? Is there a player out there, a free agent, who could fit in better with the substitution pattern? Do we start a different starting lineup? And all that stuff is fairly debated. But what we do know is that Loon really helped us win games this year. Draymond really helped us win games this year, and they played very well together. So the answer is it works, but we want to get better, and maybe we can find ways to improve as we go forward over the full 48-minute game.
I know you've said that Draymond's offense is basically gravy, but it seems at times that a little bit of offense from him helps Steph out, creates a little space, and also maybe it helps the other guys out. I was wondering what you thought of that.
I agree. I think, my point has always been that no matter what Draymond does, he's going to help us win, and that's the truth. He's so good defensively and passing the ball. But there's no getting around the fact that, when he makes a three, makes a couple threes, gets 10 or 12 points, we are a better team. And Draymond knows that. And I think the whole point going into next year is, as for me, as Draymond's head coach, and as the coach of this team, to really encourage, that kind of aggression, but to help that aggression. I got to do more to help Draymond offensively, and those are things that I have to improve upon as we go into next year that I'll be thinking about, and that's what I do every season. I try to think of ways that I can improve my own job, my own coaching. How can I help each individual player, and how can I help the team? So it's not anything new, but but we now have a really good look at this team, whereas a year ago we were completely in the dark, and that's where I think our real advantage lies. We know what we have, and we know where we need to go.
Nick Friedel, ESPN.
Steve, Steph, and Draymond both touched on this the other night, and I'm curious as to your opinion. You know better than anyone what it takes to win a championship in this league. How far away do you feel like you guys are right now from winning another title?
Well, I saw Draymond's answer the other day. We didn't make the playoffs, so we're kind of far. I actually agree with that. I think it would be arrogant for us, having just missed the playoffs, to say, hey, we're right there. So we're a ways away, but we like the path that we're on. We love the fact that, all the things I just mentioned. We got Steph and Draymond playing at a high level. We got young players who have emerged. We know James is going to be better with a year under his belt. We got a couple first-round picks. We got free agency coming up. Most importantly, we've got Clay coming back. You throw all that together, and I like our chances to make a big leap. But no, we can't sit here and honestly say we're close to a championship because Draymond's right. We got to make the playoffs first before we say that.
Marcus Thompson.
Hey, Steve. We all know you love bigs and you think about defense and rebounding a lot. But your team really plays well when you go small. And if you're looking at the West, there's a lot of bigs. Did you learn anything new maybe about how to handle that balance this year? Was it anything different than in the past? Having another year trying to weigh when to go small, when to stay big, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I learned, honestly, is that when I really held the players' feet to the fire, they rebounded well. When we played 3 or 4 good games in a row and we rebounded fine and we sort of forgot about it, we'd have a game where we just got destroyed. So part of it is on me to have that appropriate fear we talk about every single game from a rebounding standpoint. And I think I need to do a better job, frankly, of doing it every day in practice. Even if it's just 2 minutes, even if it's a comment here or there, jolting them. I've got to do a better job of helping them on a daily basis understand that if we're playing small, we're undermanned, and all 5 guys got to engage, and nobody is allowed to go unaccounted for on a possession where they don't box out and we give up 2 points. So, that's what I've learned. And then next year we'll see what the roster looks like with the players we have, the free agents we have, and we'll see what combinations we're playing and all that stuff. But we won't know that until next year.
As a follow, do you think Jordan can do more of a initiator, playmaker stuff next year? Do you see him growing as that guy off the bench who can put the ball in his hands?
Absolutely. I mean, you could see his playmaking down the stretch. He gets places most players can't get to. He's so much more than just a shooter. So he's very dynamic and made great strides. So I have no doubt, if we have Clay healthy, it's really fun to think about Jordan and Clay in those minutes when Steph and Draymond are off the floor. Like that's exciting. Doesn't mean it's automatically going to work, but maybe Jordan, Andrew, and Clay together. That's a pretty dynamic group that you get 3 guys who can score in different ways, and Jordan with the ability to make plays, get into the paint, distribute the ball. Now you're talking about some firepower. That's exciting.
Next question is from Carlos Ramirez.
Hi, Steve. First of all, thank you for a great season. It's been a long life dream of mine to be able to cover you, and now that I've done it on a daily basis, I thank you for that.
Thank you.
What do you think about the playing tournament? Do you like it or not? Should it continue to go on?
Well, I joked that a month ago that I would hate it if we lost and love it if we won. But I honestly, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's great for the league. And what's great for the league should be more important than being worried about the 8th seed missing out on the playoffs. So I think it should be something we stay with. There was more interest in more games down the stretch than there have been in a long time, and there has been in a long time. And there were some mini races within teams trying to avoid 7th. I thought it was fascinating as a fan. And now, are there things we could tweak? Maybe, maybe. I mean, I thought, and this is just being brutally honest, and you guys know I'm usually brutally honest, but was it a blow to suffer such a devastating loss to the Lakers and then have to turn around and play a team that just won? Yeah, that was tough. On the other hand, they had to fly across the country, and there was a fatigue factor that came with that too. But there's no doubt, a team that finishes 8th or 7th and loses, if you lose in gut punch fashion like we did, it's tough to get off the mat. And I think that showed itself in the first half of the Memphis game. They came out, confident and ready to go, and we looked like we were still stunned from the loss in LA. And so as a coach, that's something I recognized. Wished I could have done a better job, helping the players get over that loss in LA. But is that something the league could address? Maybe. I don't know what the solution would be. But all in all, as the coach, as the coach who lost out in the play-in tournament, I'm still a proponent. I think it's really good.
And as a follow-up, what's your biggest regret, and what are you most proud of this season as a coach?
Biggest regret is just not making the playoffs. And as a coach, you always go back and think of things every single year, unless you win the championship. There's stuff that you go, man, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. And those are the things that you guys are going to want to know, and those are the things that I'm not going to tell you. But I will tell you there are absolutely things that I regret that I could have done better with. But as far as what I'm most proud of is for sure the finish and the fight the guys showed after 50 games where we were sort of lost in the wilderness. I thought our guys did a great job of climbing their way out of the hole and making the season very meaningful.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, we have time for 2 more for Coach Kerr. The first one will come from Anthony Slater, and then Jim Conlon will be the last question.
Kelly Oubre is kind of your big free agent, and his role fluctuated. He was in and out of the lineup. He did kind of have some success off the bench late, as more of a small ball 4. Would you like to see him continue with you guys? And if he did, what would you envision his role as?
Yeah, it'd be great to have Kelly back. I mean, he's really, really talented. Obviously, it was tricky at times, like finding the exact right role, but it was tricky for me, honestly, with the entire roster to put the pieces together this year. You guys saw that. It was a struggle. He's a free agent. He's going to have to decide what he wants, and we will have that discussion. I said it before, Clay's going to start when he gets back. Would Kelly be interested in coming off the bench? That's a question only he can answer. So he'll weigh his options, we'll weigh ours, and we'll see where it all goes. But really like Kelly, think he's got great potential to be very helpful on our team, and we'll see where it all goes for him.
Hi, Steve. You mentioned in relation to the draft last year, the acquisition of Jamal Wiseman, and it was a big coup for you. But this year, sort of looking ahead now in terms of free agency and the draft, are you really looking for that sort of dynamic sort of guard, the likes of a Colin Sexton type that can really drive to the basket, that really gives that sort of energy? We saw last year like Tyrese Halliburton going at 11th for Sacramento, which is probably a steal in the draft. Is that something you're trying to pick up this year, to look for that sort of elusive guard that might go under the radar in terms of a Sexton or a Halliburton?
Well, I think, that's really more Bob's job than mine. I mean, as a coach, obviously, I have a voice in personnel, and I will watch the guys that our scouts have suggested that we select, and I'll put my opinion in. I think the difference this year compared to last year, we'll see where the lottery lands. But when you're in the number 2 slot, it's very different from being in the 11th slot. You're thinking differently. You're thinking about impact long term, and about ceilings, about star potential, because we all know within a few years, we're gonna need new cornerstones of the franchise. And so if you have a chance to take a guy like James, who could potentially be a cornerstone, then you do it. If we're picking 14th with our own pick, or 7th or 8th or something with the Minnesota pick, well, that changes the perspective. It changes your options because the guys who are possible cornerstones are probably already gone. And then you maybe have the luxury of thinking about your roster. And you're more likely to end up looking at guys, who have more experience, who are more prepared to play. And that's certainly something we're going to consider. But again, that's Bob's job. I will take part in it, but it's really, his ball, and he's gonna make the play, and I'll have 100% trust in him because he's always done an amazing job with the roster and with the draft. He's been a brilliant GM, and I'm lucky to work with him. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you down the road, hopefully in person.